In a modest village nestled between the verdant hills of Derbyshire lived Miss Liza Green, a young woman of uncommon sense, admirable perseverance, and the gentlest of hearts. Though her circumstances were humble and her gown mended more times than counted decent, Liza possessed a quality that no fortune could purchase: determination. Her late father, a schoolmaster of good repute but little savings, had left behind little more than a well-worn collection of Virgil and a small patch of land, rocky, stubborn, and seemingly reluctant to grow anything other than thistles. But where others saw futility, Liza saw opportunity. She cleared the ground with her own hands, studied soil and seed by borrowed books, and coaxed from the earth not only carrots and cabbages, but strawberries of such sweetness they seemed to have absorbed her spirit. It was at the Saturday market that her produce began to gather notice. Her stall, though plain, was always neat, her prices fair, and her smile unfeigned. One morning, as the spring sun caught the dew on her newly picked peas, a gentleman approached her stall. Mr. Nathaniel Ashcombe was the only son of Sir Bartholomew Ashcombe of Fairmere Park, a name with more horses than tenants, and a fortune as ancient as it was vast. Nathaniel was fair-haired, handsome, and, more surprisingly, kind. He asked the price of her gooseberries and lingered long enough to forget them. The following Saturday he returned for black currants and left with an infatuation. Their acquaintance bloomed with the season. To those who watched, it was clear that Nathaniel's interest in Liza extended beyond produce. They spoke of books, philosophy, and the oddities of society. He admired her self-reliance, she his unaffected manners. But society, as it often does, soon took notice. Sir Bartholomew and Lady Ashcombe were not pleased. A farmer's daughter, though her turnips were exceptional, was no match for their son. They declared his attachment to be nonsense, and insisted upon a tour of the continent, complete with strict chaperonage and a regiment of family friends tasked with distracting him. Nathaniel departed, heavy-hearted but resolute. He left Liza with no promises, only a look that said what decorum forbade him to speak. In his absence, Liza tended her garden, bore the whispers of the village with a calm brow, and found peace in work. Then, in a turn of fate most unexpected, a letter arrived from a solicitor in London. Her uncle, Jonathan Pembroke, whom she had met but once and remembered chiefly for smelling of pipe tobacco and ginger biscuits, had died. Having never married and having quarreled with most of his relations, he had left the bulk of his estate to the only person he claimed had a sensible head and a kind face: his niece Liza. Suddenly, Liza was in possession of a fine house, a respectable income, and the attention of persons who had never noticed her radishes. When Nathaniel returned months later, leaner, tanner, and none the less in love, he came directly to the village. He found her not behind a stall, but seated in her garden, with a book and a bonnet trimmed in real silk. "Miss Green," he began, earnest and out of breath, "I have come to say what I could not before. I have told my parents that I intend to marry you, and I shall do so, even if it means forfeiting my inheritance." Liza regarded him kindly. "Mr. Ashcombe," she said with a smile, "you must forgive me for not appearing as impoverished as you remember. I too have had a change in circumstance." And so it was that a gentleman, prepared to forsake a fortune, married a lady who had just inherited one. Their love, born not of title or wealth but of character and constancy, flourished. And if their kitchen garden remained the best in the county, it was only because Lady Ashcombe, formerly Miss Liza Green, refused to let her strawberries go untended. This episode is most delightfully sponsored by Jane Austen's Closet, a charming emporium of witty and whimsical attire, perfectly suited for admirers of Miss Austen's works. Pray, do pay them a visit at austenscloset.myshopify.com, or simply follow the link in the description below.